All right, let's dive into the absolute wonderful chaos of corporate sustainability. Because right now, on March 14th, 2026, trying to save the planet has become a very, very strange business. So here we are. It's 2026. The planet is, on fire. A critical global shipping lane is completely blocked, and massive corporations are stuck in a giant geopolitical tug of war. Okay, let's get into this. Just take a look at this market snapshot. I mean, on one hand, you've got total chaos. Oil prices are spiking because there are 150 ships just sitting there, stuck in the Strait of Hormuz. The S&P 500 is dropping. But on the other hand, U.S. companies are signing a record number of clean energy deals. How can both of these things be true at the exact same time? It's a paradox that makes zero sense, and yet, somehow, all the sense in the world. In an environment this nuts, how does a global company even try to make a plan? What's the secret sauce for navigating this complete mess? Well, the answer is kind of weird. Yep, that's right. The hot new strategy is something called greenhushing. It's basically the corporate version of saving someone from drowning and then sprinting away before they can even say thank you. Companies are secretly, quietly hitting their climate goals because in today's political world, actually admitting it can be career suicide. Okay, so let's break this down. We're going to start with this core contradiction. Why on earth are companies hiding their climate progress? Well, it turns out it all depends on where you happen to be standing. This right here explains the whole problem in a nutshell. I want you to imagine a boardroom for some big multinational company, and it's split right down the middle. In their Houston office, being openly pro-ESG is a massive political risk. But over in their Amsterdam office, it's a non-negotiable requirement for doing business. So you have the exact same company that's quietly installing solar panels in Texas while loudly shouting from the rooftops about its wind farms in Europe. It's one company living in two completely different, contradictory realities. And that leads us directly into the uniquely American battlefield, where this whole ESG debate has spiraled into an all-out political and legal war. Check out this timeline from just a single week last month. First, the Supreme Court strikes down presidential overreach on tariffs. Then, the president almost immediately announces new tariffs anyway. And right in the middle of all that, the state of Texas just quietly drops a huge anti-ESG legal fight, basically admitting it was probably going to lose. It's just a perfect little snapshot of legal chaos and political games. This is how one analysis put it, describing the Texas Attorney General's retreat. I mean, after years of being the loudest anti-ESG voice in the entire country, the second he had to face a real court challenge, the whole thing just collapsed. And get this, the legal battle that made them fold, it's even more bizarre. Texas passed a law that forces faith-based investors, we're talking about groups like Quaker pension funds, to legally declare that their ethical investment strategy has absolutely nothing to do with financial performance. And what this all boils down to, believe it or not, is the state of Texas now in court arguing against a group of nuns. The nuns are saying the law forces them to lie, which violates their First Amendment rights. This puts Texas in the literal position of arguing that morality cannot possibly be financially material. It is absolutely surreal stuff. Now, as wild as that courtroom drama is, it's all happening while much, much bigger forces are at play. While the U.S. is fighting these internal culture wars, the rest of the world is dealing with cold, hard reality. And these global crises are forcing everyone's hand. So while maybe 38% of U.S. CEOs claim ESG isn't a priority for them, their energy bills are telling a very different story. With the conflict in the Middle East, Brent crude is up 13%, and natural gas prices for the year are up a staggering 50%. This isn't about ideology anymore. It's just simple, painful math. And that right there is the ultimate irony, isn't it? The same geopolitical instability that has everyone on edge is making a stronger business case for green energy than any corporate memo or policy ever could. The market itself is forcing the transition. And this is where we see the next level of the game. So big tech needs truly massive amounts of energy for AI, right? But China controls a lot of the critical minerals you need for solar and wind. So what do? Well, you pivot. You go hard into nuclear and geothermal to get energy independence. And just like that, ESG goals and national security strategy become the exact same thing. And look, this isn't just some flurry on a slide. That pivot is exactly why U.S. companies have already signed a record-breaking 29.5 gigawatts of clean energy deals just this year. Big tech is driving a massive, real-world energy shift, and it's being driven by geopolitics, not just climate policy. Okay, so you've got political chaos in the U.S. and a security-driven energy transition happening globally. You think things couldn't possibly get more complicated, right? Well, let's take a little trip to France. First, just try to imagine the absolute nightmare that global companies are dealing with. Trade rules are changing in like a 72-hour window. Ports are being shut down by drone strikes. Huge new trade blocks are forming out of nowhere. A major shipping lane is completely clogged. It is pure, unadulterated chaos out there. Now, you have to ask yourself, in the middle of all of that, could your company really prove with audited, verifiable, forensic-level data that your entire global supply chain is carbon neutral? The answer is almost certainly no way. And there it is. There's the punchline. This week, French courts ruled that making a carbon-neutral claim without a fully verifiable pathway is now a criminal offense. They've criminalized greenwashing at the exact moment it's become nearly impossible to prove you aren't greenwashing. As the source material so perfectly puts it, the timing is just immaculate. It is the most perfect, most absurdly timed law you could possibly imagine for the current state of the world. So, what does this all really mean? It means the debate is basically over. ESG, sustainability, whatever label you want to slap on it, it's not an ideological choice anymore. It's a hard reality. It's driven by energy security, it's driven by national security, and now it's driven by legal compliance. This transition is happening, whether companies are shouting about it or not. And that leaves us with one final, really fascinating question. In a world where you're legally required to be transparent, but that same world makes transparency almost impossible, and speaking up gets you attacked, is the only sane strategy left to just do the work and say nothing at all?